Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Mouse Says The Butler Didn't Do It mystery series, a series of books written by myself, Nico Scher, under my pen name of Cheryl Ann Butler. The mouse is behind me. You may wind up with a couple of visits from Normal, who is in the room, and from Chuck and Maggie, who are running around here. We apologize for not being up and posting for the last week and a few days, but we had some things occur here. We had a mama cat give birth to a litter of kittens. She was brought in to us by our giant schnauzer, Sean Thornton, and by his cohort, our giant black Russian terrier, Sharon's Romeo. Do us all a favor. Yes, I am an animal lover, as you know, with the dogs and cats we have around here. But in our area, people have a tendency that they want a cat. As time goes by, the cat gets pregnant. They don't want to deal with the situation that they allowed to be created. They will dump the mama. And out here we have coyotes. We have a pack of wolves on our land. We have a mountain lion that I call Elsa. We have hawks. We have snakes. We have golden eagles. All are dangers to a mother cat and her kittens. Please, either be a responsible person and have your cat or dog spaded or neutered. These animals do not need this type of life. And it is an overwhelming prospect because now when she is weaning her kittens, we not only need to find homes for them, or they may reside with us. But either way, it now needs to be dealt with her being spaded along with the other kittens that she has produced. A cat can produce a litter of kittens within every 65 days. It takes a brief time period for her to get pregnant, and then 59 days to deliver. And within a week of that delivery, she can be pregnant again. If you are a breeder, then you know what to do. You know how to handle it. You know which way. But if you are not, and you decide to adopt a cat, a puppy, a kitten, a dog, make sure you take the responsibility to have them spaded or neutered, because other people may not be willing to take on your mistake. Thank you. Now, on to where we left off with Escape to a New Hope. When last we met, Dima, Annie, and the children were in flight at that point to New York City, USA. In this occurring, the agent from the SVR was turned away from the hotel and wound up spending time at the airport, to where she frantically sought to find luggage she had left behind, along with her paperwork that she had lost, apparently. She was then waiting for another agent to come in when a gentleman by the name of King Stevie and his family had been visiting, and they happened to know both the twins in the bronze, and Interpol Sergeant Michelle Delatante. Later on, we will learn more of King Stevie and his family. So now we continue on with Chapter 33 of Escape to a New Hope. As they waited for the plane to taxi down the runway, King Stevie took his phone from his pocket to make one last call before he turned it off to lay back and wait for them to land in London. Michelle, it's King. There is a damsel in distress at the airport, and she is really going to be pissed off. There are 2 shipping boxes that are on their way to my home in New Mexico. Y'all got a box that's going to be delivered to the hotel for y'all to hold on to. Give it about a month and put the items on the website for sale. Women's clothes and shoes, PJs, and underthings. Oui, it is here behind the desk, and she has already inquired about lost items. Thank you. Welcome. She was running from bathroom to bathroom looking for I don't know what, but she slammed into Isabella in one of them. We're about ready to take off, so give Helga and Joseph my thanks, partner, and give a hug to the twins from our girls. Adios, my friend. Au revoir, my friend. Pleasant journey. Michelle ended the call. Helga looked at him. In her office was a valise that held a large amount of rubles, euros, and American dollars. It also contained several credit cards. A leather badge holder contained all of the woman's IDs, including several items that Michelle had taken and mailed out special delivery to New Hope, Pennsylvania, in care of Alexei Khrushchev. As they looked out the window of the hotel, the high winds and heavy rain had taken down several tree limbs. One had fallen mere feet from both the Zaz and his own Audi. Helga's VW Jetta was buried amongst the smaller branches of the same tree and covered in saturated leaves. Joseph, Kirk, and multiple maintenance people were cutting hers and other vehicles loose from not only the branches, but also out picking up the trash that was picked up from the neighborhood area which the winds had gathered and blitzkrieged the hotel's parking lot. May God help those flying out of here into Berlin safe. And may we keep Oya and whoever should follow pinned at the airport. Helga looked over her shoulder. Adele, choose what you want from those 2 boxes. Tante Helga, on the Cal Michelle, there are tags on many of these, and they are designers. Why would she be carrying? There is only 1 pair of jeans and 2 T-shirts that do not have tags. The shoes are designers too. And what? Helga asked her niece. There are other things. There are men's clothing. Same thing. Will they be something your brother could wear? Helga turned to see what Adelheid Braun had laid out in her office. Ja, jawohl. It makes no sense to me. Michelle, Helga motioned to him to come into the office. As the man did, he looked at the Desquad 2 and the Amaury shirts laid on the chair. He leaned in to look at the tags on the woman's items. Prada, Louis Vuitton, Fendi. There were Gucci shoes and Prada bags. She did not just bring those to wear. No, my sister-in-law and niece. These are black market, and she was planning on selling these. Michelle looked at the woman. That would also explain the amount of different funds she has in the valise. Helga looked at him. When is Dirk's break? Michelle asked. Helga looked at the clock. 10 minutes, my brother-in-law. Make a call to him, Adel. Will any of the men's items fit your brother? The jeans he may need a belt with, but the shirts he will appreciate, Uncle. Look at, well, Tanti, you would be better at this than Uncle. Adelheid pointed to where she had lingerie. Helga stepped over. Oh, my! She placed a hand to her cheek. What is it, Helga? Michelle asked, leaning in. King and his cowboy ways, and said there are PJs. Pajamas, he means. These are not pajamas. These are quite expensive pieces of lingerie. Intermasati, Coco D. This is one you would recognize, Michelle. Heiress. There are more than I can count with the label of Victoria's Secret. What the hell is she up to? Michelle's face turned a deep shade of pink. I think I know. Seems to me she was dealing black market goods and coming here with Germany to think of selling them to gain her own monies. I wonder why she has held her own bank book here and a visa not to U.S., where we figured she would be heading to hunt. But why is it to Switzerland, he asked. Helga reached for her phone to ring Dirk's, and she and Adelheid laughed. Only your uncle would think, she tapped her head, of the police realization of what she is up to. You, my dear, will have a fine set of lingerie to take with you to New Hope. Chapter 34. Anastasia had just finished nursing Tatiana and was strapping her into her car seat when the fasten seatbelt sign lit and turned on. She looked over her shoulder at Dennis. He was all ready and looking out the window at the morning clouds. His belt was on, and he had put away his Legos he'd been quickly playing with on the almost 9-hour flight. They had received several compliments from the stewardesses and Stuart, as well as the travelers. This was about how well-behaved the children were and how respectful and pleasant they had been to travel with on such a long flight. This included the quiet infant in the seat next to her. Ivina had placed her bookmarker in the page she was reading and put it back into her bag. Dennis handed her his Lego box to secure. You two are ready. Anna received 2 affirmative answers. She reached over to touch Dima's arm. He turned to smile at her. Almost in our new homeland. You look much better than you did this morning, although it's still morning here. You can start the day over. She smiled at him. I am sure Puddinhead would be glad to do that as well. The only sound is of him drinking. He is a very good puppy, Annie smiled at her husband. Dima took her hand in his. I feel a lot better. However, I am very tired. And little Puddinhead, he will be glad to get out of his carrier and stretch. They landed, then taxied to the terminal. The steward asked if they would mind waiting to last so Dima would not be rushed. They thanked him and waited. He helped Dima into the wheelchair and placed Puddinhead on his lap. They exited the plane into the terminal and proceeded to customs. Annie set her bag down to fill out the paperwork needed and readied their passports and visas. "Good morning," was all she said. She answered the questions that were asked. Yes, they had someone to receive the dog. Yes, she had a position waiting for her. She showed him her green card. Yes, she had guardianship of the older children. "Our father was killed in Ukraine, and our mother passed when Dennis was born," she explained. "I am sorry for you. My condolences," the man nodded, with a thick New York accent. "Thank you. Yes, we are married." He asked about an address for them. She showed him the Long Island home address. The officer checked their papers and directed them where to get their luggage, and they were to finish customs. They gathered their bags and the dog stroller. She asked, "Do we need to declare the toys and books we brought with us for the children to keep them content in the long flight?" "No, that was fine," the guard told her. "I wish more folks would think of that. It makes it easier for the children and other passengers as well." The bags went through the X-ray. The only question was about the baby's diaper bag. "Duct tape?" the customs officer asked and smiled. "I use cotton diapers," Annie began to explain. "I did not think the baby's safety pins would be allowed on the plane after what happened years ago on that sad day of September 11th to your homeland. I did not want them in her bag. They are in her luggage, so my husband showed me how to tape her diapers with this." She slid the roll onto her arm like it was a bracelet. She pulled Tatiana's pants down a little and her T-shirt up to show the tape on the cotton diaper. The guard smiled and nodded. "Good idea, sir. I'll have to remember that one with my own grandson. The disposable ones my daughter uses, they have a tendency to tear as the tabs come loose." "Yes, I understand," Dima nodded. Chapter 35. As Annie put her paperwork back, a tall gentleman with blonde hair that held a hint of gray at the temples approached, bearing a handlebar mustache. "Anastasia, Dimbilic, and family, and, wow, Puddinhead!" Annie turned. "Yes, sir," she smiled at the look of his mustache. "I am Dr. Rain Thompson. It's a pleasure to meet you all." "Hey, Doc," the guard called and gave away. "Hi, Bob. I'm to pick up the pooch and these folks." He took Puddinhead's crate. "Thought that address looked like one I remembered. This wouldn't happen to be the new designer everyone's been very excited and talking about for New Hope's Bridal Center, would it?" "Yes. Anastasia? Bob is Zapiero's daughter. Alicia is the seamstress and tailor for Shelley, Cordero, and Colette. You'll more than likely be working with her. And before I married Stevie, I lived in Long Island full-time. I was the veterinarian on call for animal inspection, so I've known Bob here, good God, Bob, at least 20 years, isn't it?" The man started to chuckle. "You were wet behind the ears, James Harriet, when you started here. I've got to get back to work, though, Rain. Welcome to the USA and blessings." "Thank you," Dima said. Annie opened the large old travel trunk to retrieve all their winter coats for them to put on in front of Bob, then closed it. "Thank you so very much. I look forward to working with Alicia. I have spoken. Is that the right term? I wonder. To her through email about the store and how it is set up. She is manager of it, and she leads seamstress. Very nice lady. As they started away, Rain stepped to one side to put a bill into to a rack and pull loose a cart. We'll load all these on here. Dima, you carry the baby and her car seat, and Dennis can push Puddinhead in the stroller. Rain loaded everything for them to begin their journey in the land of the USA. Rain spoke softly to the children as he pushed the cart about the Statue of Liberty and the history of New York, the town in which he had lived most of his life. How it was once New Amsterdam, and then about the history of their new home in New Hope that actually was over 300 years old. That included the house they would volunteer to help to repair for them should Annie and Dima decide to purchase it. They walked out to the doors to the loading area. Wait here and I'll get the van. He walked out to pull up 10 minutes later in a gold and white high-roofed late 70s Dodge van. They were able to let the dog out of the crate as Rain loaded, and he explained to Dima the engine as Dennis walked Puddinhead on his lead. Having Dima ask many questions about the size of the motor and try to configure from liters to the proper size. Puddinhead took interest in the scents and odors on the air as he sniffed, then took his first pee on the U.S. soil. In doing so, he hit the right front tire and continued to relieve himself. Annie strapped in Tatiana, and Rain loaded the wheelchair and stroller. They still had to wait for Puddinhead for about 10 minutes after Rain had finished loading the bags and the large trunk. Finally, his teeth must have been floating, Rain smiled. Oh, my teeth are floating too, Dima smiled. I can only imagine what his poor kidneys and bladder feel like to be relieved after all those long 9 hours. Rain lifted the dog into to the van, then shut the door. He came around the front of the van to get in and pulled away from the loading area. They took the Southern State Parkway and were pulling up to a beautiful Victorian-style estate with a backdrop of thick woods and enchanting gardens within an hour. Oh, she is a beautiful home. Ivana looked out the van's window. Glad someone thinks so. Rain chuckled as he drove up to the front door through the wraparound drive. Annie asked several questions, with which Rain gladly answered as Dima looked from the house to Rain and back again. The man smiled. Dim, you purchased the Flanderwall house. I have a history with the ways of rebuilding of a disaster. This old girl was built in 1845. Don't let her looks fool you. When I was a kid, this place was the joke of the neighborhood. She was burned out sometime in the late 1800s, and the family never planned to do anything with her, so she was left to decay. Oh, that is such a shame. Such a beautiful home, loved to deteriorate. Annie shook her head. Well, during World War I, she was bought by some member of the British royal family, a poor member at that, but he only worked on her a few years. Then, with the Depression, he left her. World War II, with our men fighting over in Europe and the South Pacific, and our women Working on the war factory, she was forgotten altogether and left to the wilds of the Long Island's land and nature. Think of Sleeping Beauty's castle, and you have what she turned into by the early 60s. Then she was found by this asshole drug dealer who claimed to be a Russian mystic and related to Rasputin himself. Dima turned to look at him. Gregory Yefimovich Rasputin had 3 children. Maria is the only one that I know of that lived. She escaped to France, then to U.S. She has 2 children, Tatiana Solovic and Maria Solovic. She was married to Boris Solovic in 1917 and divorced in 1926 and married Gregory Benedisky in 1940 and again divorced in 1946. She died in Los Angeles, California, USA, on September 27, 1977. I not know of the other children if they survive or no, and I not know much about the 2 daughters or if they had children of their own. You're a historian, Rain asked as he raised an eyebrow. Dima looked at him and sighed. I was a primary school teacher. Teacher? That's good to know. Rain smiled and brushed his mustache. Dima bowed his head. He was positive he had possible sister who he was godfather of children, but I think there have been no surviving relatives after Russia's revolution and became Soviet Union as far as history shows. I do not think he had surviving siblings other than possible sister, but some records show he has 8 or 9 siblings. Most die as infants or were stillborn, and that would have been the only way, as he had no offspring, but these I know of. That would be of interest to investigate and to research now, wouldn't it, Iveta and Dennis? Dima nodded to the children. If he was related to Rasputin in any way, Rain continued, the guy was another Charlie Manson. He drew a cult. Charles Manson. He was murderer in the late 1960s in California. Am I not correct? No? Yes, you are. This guy, though, his name was Robert Stanford, and his father was the founder of an academy and finishing school franchise in the 40s. He used the house here for his meeting place, and eventually the police got wind, and the old gal went through a drug raid, which destroyed more of her from the gunfire that took place. Oh dear, such damage! Ivana blinked and placed both hands to her cheeks. We know what those bullets can do to old homes and buildings. I agree, Ivana, I agree. The ones who weren't taken in the raid returned to rip out her fixtures, her electrical and plumbing, and her stained glass windows. She sat deteriorating through the time I was a kid. When I was a teen, this poor old girl, in its worst ways, was destroyed even worse than ever for here. She was considered Satan's house, and with that was called here in the state of the satanic panic era. The neighborhood adults started taking pot shots at her. They wanted her torn down and demolished. My first wife, my late wife, Apple, loved this place and begged her father. Dad is an incredible man. He made an offer and Long Island took it. She conned me and Cash and any one of her friends into researching her history and doing repairs. That was when we were in junior high school. We were about Ivana's age. My brother Cash is a lot older than me, so he knew more about construction and things like that. He glanced over his shoulder. Ivana turned from looking out the window. Such a sad story, and yet she is so very beautiful. It must have taken a lot of hard work to bring her beauty back. Around 12 or 13, I guess we were, somewhere around that age. And yes, a lot of hard work went into this old gal, but she was worth it. In the early 2000s, we completed the repair. We lived here until I lost her to a drunk driver on May 30th. He paused and sat there for a second. That was 18 years ago. We were scheduled to start into adopting children. I did as she wished. I have 3 teenagers. Harley is 16, soon to be 17. Scout is 15, and Triton is going to be 13. My wonderful second wife and I have our son, Triumph, who is 3. The boy is my age. Ivana dropped her head as she blushed. Yes, and he'll be glad to meet you. He doesn't like Long Island. His friends are in New Hope. He doesn't deal well here. There are too many people asking questions, especially of him, because they were adopted and we don't know a lot about their backgrounds. That is not right. Ivana shook her head. Very true, sweetie. Now, I need to explain something before she walks out here. My wife, Stevie. She is 26 years my junior, and he looked around Dima. She and her mother and grandparents on her mother's side are all psychic, and she is an empath. And here they come. She is also a medium, a clairvoyant. In short, I met her when she walked into my office in New Hope with a female fox kit that had been hit by a car. She, Stevie, was about 8. I was just 34. We saved Theodora, named her for a very special man in her family's life, Theodoros Papadopoulos, Papu, as we all called him. He stepped back to reach for the door handle. Chapter 36. Anastasia's eyes went wide as she turned to look at Ivana. She is like us, Ivana whispered. Shush! Like Mama and Grandma. You are still learning. I need training still. We need to stay silent until I know how Dima. Then shush! Ivana bit her lip. She scared the hell out of me when she told me a lady with a fruit's name was behind me, Rain continued, and loved me very much for the children I was going to claim as our own. At the time, I had just signed the final paperwork of adopting Harley and had applied for a second child. She told me that baby was a girl. Our Scout was born a few months later in October, and I got a call to come get her. So be prepared. He opened the door to step up on the running board. Hey, sweetheart, he waved to her. The tall, beautiful blonde had her long hair piled on top of her head, and it was held by a bandana as she came down the front steps of the large home. Trotting along with her and the 3-year-old little boy who ran beside his older siblings were 2 red boxes with 3 red and 1 silver fox kit and a foxhound. They're descendants of Teddy and her mate Flag. Rain explained as he stepped down. Stevie opened the side door of the van. "Welcome to the U.S. and Long Island." Her blue eyes went from Annie to Dima and dilated. Then she blinked twice and refocused all the way to the back seat of the van that lay empty. "You have all got to be tired. Let's get you in so you can enjoy a relaxing hot bath, good food, and get some rest." She looked over her shoulder. "Our kids will get things in. Rain?" "Yes, sweetie." "We are starting to upload he was starting to unload. I'm sorry, my cat just shoved something. Be good. Get your tail out of the way." "Thank you, goofball." He was starting to unload from the rear door of the van. Cash and the guys are finishing their coffee. They're at the door. Stevie helped Ivana down and out of the van as the door to the house opened. This, folks, is the troublemaker. This is... Calm down. Yeah, you're a troublemaker. Yes, you're a troublemaker. That is Creamsicle. And she is trouble. Cash and the guys are finishing their coffee. They're at the door. Stevie helped Ivana out of the van as the door to the house opened. A second, much older version of Rain, without the handlebar mustache, walked out with 3 adult males. One young man, the youngest Annie thought, was extremely dark-skinned and with very black wavy hair and beautiful piercing deep blue crystal onyx eyes. The other 2 resembled the older man. The oldest had short blonde hair with the blue eyes of his father. The middle son, his long blonde hair hung to his shoulder blades in a ponytail that held the waves that tried to escape in the breeze. His skin was a darker shade of an olive, and his eyes were a sparkling blue of the ocean. All 3 of them had a style in their presentation like their father and reminded her of military men. Dennis stepped out of the van with Puddinghead. "May I put him down?" "Of course. The Skulk would love a new friend. And so would Toby. Skulk is the term for a group or a pack of foxes." Dennis set Puddinghead down. The skulk of foxes slowed, then approached, and the sniffing began. Toby, the foxhound, and Puddinghead did their sniffing to get to know each other. The games were on between foxes, Doxy, and hound as they ran across the expanse of the lawn. Stevie offered her hand to Annie, who passed her Tatiana. She took the baby as Annie stepped down. As she descended the van step, a young teenage boy offered his hand to Ivana. Ivana placed hers in his. She now stood face to face with Triton. "Cool! You like Harry Potter?" He nodded to the book that she held. He put his hand as he put out his hand as he noticed her book. Ivana took it again. "I am Ivana. Hello. Can we be friends?" she shyly asked. The boy nodded and brushed his long red-tinted black hair from his eyes. "I'd really like that." Ivana smiled. "My first friend in America." "You bet," he answered. Then he shyly gave her a hug. Stevie said to Annie as she smiled, "The men will help Dima. You and I need to speak." Annie looked wide-eyed as she heard Dima and not Dim and followed. Stevie whispered, "This precious baby's is not Dima's by blood, but by love. And his name is not Dimos, it is Dmitri, Russian, and my dear, you are just a few days along with Dima's child. So you need to rest after such a long flight and the several months of just trying to survive." Annie stopped suddenly. "Come on, let's get you a cup of tea as they get Dima in. It's okay. You are safe here and will be in New Hope. Manduala will make sure of that." Annie followed her to enter the home. Triton took Ivana's bag. "You and I need to talk." "About?" "You carry a secret like I do, my friend." He winked as they walked to the house. "What are you?" She looked at the handsome, almost teen, with the red-tinted, dark black hair. His almond eyes sparkled, and it was noted why, with the gorgeous Asian features, he had to put up with people wanting to know about his ancestry with his deep green eyes. "You're gifted like me. You shine. Mom is incredible with what she can do and her gifts. So are my gran and aunts and several of my female cousins. Mickey is scary as hell. My sister Scout. She's the goofy blonde out there that is playing with Triumph and your brother and the other critters. She ain't figured it out yet." "What do you mean, she ain't figured it out yet?" Triton laughed. "Scout sometimes blows stuff up with not knowing how to control it. Kind of Harry Potter-like, but she's neat as all get out, and she's excellent when it comes to electronics. If you got a problem with something electronic, she's your girl. It will get fixed. She knows her stuff. I'm just afraid of what she's learned she can do and hasn't talked to Mom or Grandmom about yet. But Uncle Jess the Ness, Mickey's dad, he doesn't think he's got zilch." Ivana looked at him. "Zilch?" She blinked. "It's an American slang." "No, I know what zilch means. He doesn't think he has gifts, but yet he can do things. He just don't think he can. But he gets what he calls tingles. Uncle Graham's the one who glows with it. Come on, I'll show you to your room." He held the door for her as they entered, and you are now visited by Maggie Lou who is no more than 2, and Chucky. Yes, you, Chucky, mwah, my little lover, who wears a heart on his head instead of his sleeve. Chapter 37. After hot baths, followed by a delicious home-cooked meal and much-needed rest, the teens, Ivana and Dennis, were out for a relaxing walk through the beautiful colors of the fall leaves of November on the trails of the woods that were owned by Rain and Stevie that attached to the back acreage of the estate on Long Island. Puddinghead and the foxes with Toby were curled up by the warmth of the hearth of a glowing fireplace. Dima sat in a chaise lounge talking about the difference in Russian state affairs while the men explained about what to expect here in the U.S. Anastasia sat as she nursed Tatiana and enjoyed a cup of tea with Stevie and Cash's wife, Dr. Hindi Nasa Thompson, and her sister, Shanta Nasta Platonensky, the lawyer, the lawyer who was now working on getting them their paperwork for American citizenship, with her husband Moshe's connections to the United Nations. The young mother had burst into tears and laid her heart open after everything she had been through, along with the children. Everything came out. All the things that had overwhelmed the 19-year-old woman, including that Dima was a former Russian soldier who did not believe in Putin's aggression and was forced into the war by the draft, that he still had 2 bullets lodged in his body from his commanding officer when he stopped him from shooting Dennis, but the bastard had killed the boy's puppy. She also explained about where Tatiana had come from and the murder of her grandparents and Dim. He also murdered a friend of Dima's named Peter. Dima did what he could, but he no. And the fact that she could not remove those 2 remaining bullets in his body, and that terrified her. That this was after the commander murdered her father in cold blood in front of her sister and brother, and Dima had tried to stop him. The children had witnessed this all from their hiding place. The women sat back to look at each other, and that, for some reason, he was being searched for by the SVR. Now, because of this conversation, Dima could be himself, and the men that included Moshe, and they truly welcomed him for his bravery of speaking out against Putin and the attack on Ukraine. Dima had in turn explained about his anger with the Russian leader and now the ongoing war on Israel. Israel was Moshe's homeland, that he and Shanta had 3 sons and a daughter fighting for, and their youngest wanted to go, but she was only 13 and had just made her bat mitzvah. It gave Rain an idea. Dima is a teacher by trade, Cash had asked as he looked at them. Yes, he smiled weakly, but I do not know if my degrees can be used here in the United States of America. We need to talk to my brother-in-law, Jess, and Dan Lightfoot, as Dima has let us know of his teaching degrees. He is looking for someone to help with a satellite school. Rain stepped back. He may have a position open for you. He called out to Stevie and spoke to her about it. She had agreed and returned to the kitchen. Stevie set her cup of coffee down. Hindi, you're a surgeon. The older Indian doctor smiled. I have given this situation much thought. I have an older retired associate, as you know, my older brother. I will say I know not of all the business doings, but I believe he will help. I shall text the man. Excuse me. She stood to step away from the table. What is it? Stevie put up her hand. Depending on the outcome of the phone call, your Dima may be bullet-free. Just wait a few moments, Annie. Annie's eyes went wide. Hindi returned to the table. Nothing to eat for Dima after 6 o'clock tonight. We will need extra sheets and towels. She looked at her phone and texted something. Her youngest son, Chaz, stepped into the room with 13-year-old Judith, who was Shanta's daughter. He was a tall, dark-skinned man with unbelievable blue eyes. Mom, us 2 figured it out. How about if the crew and I teach Ivana and Dennis about fishing here along the Sound? We don't need permits because they're underage. They're under the age limit, and we'll be fishing off of our own private beach. So, as Grandpa says, screw the establishment. He pumped his fist. What do you think? He smiled and winked at Stevie. Stevie will be left with the rugrat, and he can play with the little furry guys. That would be good for them to see the Atlantic Ocean and the house. We just did shopping, so if you and your 2 older brothers and 2 sisters haven't already eaten Dad and I out of house and home on one of your food frenzy raids, you could make a nice picnic for the beach. Call Babette. She should be at the studio. Give her an idea of what you think you all would need to keep hydrated. Lotus is on duty, so she's out of the picture. Remember to explain they need extra clothes and they are to get showers after the blowing sand. I will, Mama. Then it's set. Let's go tell him, Judy. Thank you, Chaz, Judy. They turned to walk out as Hindi picked up her teacup. She sipped and simply said, Raj is more than an older associate. He is our older brother through our mother. He will bring what he needs. I will bring what I need to have here. We will need the dining room table to be draped, Stevie. Stevie gave a nod. I'll prep it tonight, and tomorrow I'll sanitize it, and we'll put the army cot in the den. It will be easier than the stairs to the bedroom for Dima. Her eyes seemed to dilate, then refocus. What is it? Hindi set down her cup. Stevie? Shanta leaned in. My mom is going to... There she is. Stevie reached for the landline on the kitchen wall. Hi, Mom. Chapter 38. Stevie juggled the phone as she got tangled in the landline's long cord and brought it to the table. Hold on, Mom. I'm tangled in the cord, and I'm about to go on my ass with this thing or faceplant myself. Laughter came over the phone that sounded like the jingle of sleigh bells. This was followed by the sound of a soft voice. Yes, I'll put you on speaker. Hindi and Shanta, wait a moment. Stevie seemed to be playing jump rope with the cord until she was loose. Okay, I'm free. As I was saying, Hindi and Shanta are here, and Anastasia from Ukraine. They arrived safe and sound. She pressed the speaker on the handset. Hello, lovelies. A gentle, soft-spoken voice came over the line. Hello, Sonny, Hindi responded. Hello, ma'am, came from Annie. Good day, dear lady. Shanta smiled. Good evening and welcome to the United States of America. I don't know if our Stevie explained to you about what Manduala is or not. No, I haven't, Mom. But I know at one point today she would have at least mentioned it, if not the name. She has spoken of it, but she has not explained, Annie stated. Good. Then I have the honors of explaining. Manduala is a group of elementary, junior high, and senior high school friends and family and their children, and now some of us have grandchildren, and a few have great-grandchildren great-grandchildren, and one is on the way. We all live and work in New Hope, Pennsylvania. We have raised our families there. Oh, New Hope. It is a historical town. Stevie has explained, and some of its history, Annie nodded. Yes, sweetie. The Cougarts have been part of Manduala since its inception. Their son, Reuben, whom we sadly lost to leukemia about a year after several of us were out of high school, and their Colette were friends with and a cousin of Ranella Papadopoulos, our queen, since they were in the playpen. Colette designed every one of our cheerleading outfits, our prom gowns, and the Lionesses' wedding gowns. We were the Lionesses in high school. The lion was our school mascot. We were all high school cheerleaders, and our men were the offensive line of the football team. They can all explain American football to Dima and you when you meet them all. They're proud of it, too. And I am the one with Colette who is opening our world and our arms to you, Anastasia, Dimitri, and the children. Annie's eyes almost bugged out of her head as she looked first at Stevie, then to Shanta and Hindi. Stevie took her hand. It's okay, Annie. Mom, you got some splaining to do, as Daddy would say. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to scare or freak you out, darling. Did Stevie explain about our gifts? I sometimes forget newcomers don't know. Sorry, but you yourself and Ivina, along with Dennis, had gifts of your own. Gifts you have not told... Dennis had gifts of your own. Gifts you have not told Dima about because you fear what his reaction will be. He will understand. He loves you all, I promise. And his grandmother was a seer. Do not hide them. You and the children are safe and will be held precious to us in New Hope and as part of Manduala and our coven. I've explained a little, Mom, but not about Aunt Emily's mystic moments or the coven, to which you just left the cat out of the bag. Once again. Coven. You mean Vidma? Like Harry Potter's Hermione? Kind of, but good witches, like Harmony and McGonagall or Sprout. Like my mother and grandmother. They were wise women. Zorakari, Jimakaki, Ozbabgi. She stood to step towards the archway of the kitchen and look out. Annie gave a nod and returned to the table. I do not know what Dima would react to if he knew. We are Ukraine Jews, but he is Russian Jew. She tilted her hands side to side, meaning it depended. I have some things I have brought with me that he knows not about. You are what would be recorded as a Jew witch, Hindi smiled. Shanta placed her hands together and bowed. Our daughter-in-law's mother is a seer. Annie nodded. I have my Baba Yaga oracle cards. They were my grandmother's. My Kikamara doll, my goddess Mara necklace or amulet, and my candles. I also have what we call woodbik. They are crystals with carvings. She bit her lip. Your sister is showing signs like you did at that age. Sonny spoke quietly. Annie's eyes grew wider. Yes, I need help to teach her properly. Dennis, he senses things. Aunt Emily and Early with Kimmy. They'll be the best. And you know, Mom, and you, Mom, and my grandmoms, I'll throw in with yous and help. Perfect, Sonny answered. We'll help to teach her and lend a hand where you need it if you want. And we will offer our hands in training you as well. Yes, oh yes, please. Annie shook her head and then wiped a tear. Now I will explain the word Manduala, Sonny began. It's a made-up word from our childhood. It was and is a way for us to share our different ways for love to each other. from back then in the 70s, boys to girl, girl to boys as siblings, sister to sister and brother to brother, sister to brother and vice versa. As we became teenagers, it meant more, and as young adults, we fell in love and married to one another. Our children and grandchildren became part of Manduala. We now welcome you and your family as part of us. So, young lady, when we say the word Manduala, it means we love you. And we will all help with the house you are turning into a home. I cannot wait to meet you all face to face. So, Manduala, young lady, and blessings, so mote it be. She paused. Stevie, do you have everything you need for Thanksgiving Day? Because there is something coming at us. The middle eye isn't too clear, but it invokes, and someone, you know about it, but not it. It is blind to you. We're good, Mom. I got everything we need, but you're right. Something is coming, and it will be within the next week of Thanksgiving. There's multiple somethings or others. You know how it is. Good, because we had one hell of a scare this afternoon. You got hit with it on the 15th. 3 new dogs and a boy was looking for home. You sent Graham out to search in his Porsche. You told him near a bridge, and he came up with nothing, although he did run into a situation in Washington's Crossing. He popped in to check with Aunt Bet and found out that Noel Coles has been removing posters put up about Storm. As he was leaving, he ran into Reggie Collier. Oh, shit! Did they come to blows? Graham will take his ass out. He's got the weight and the size with the muscle, and if he puts some witchy stuff behind it... God, Mom, he'll beat the hell out of the damn bastard, and he'll crush him into pudding. No, it didn't come to that. Reggie took off. But last night, Uncle Silver received a phone call at the witch shop. Early this morning on your walk with Rain and Triumph, before you all left for Long Island, you saw a teen and dogs on a bike, right? Yes, I got a feeling I was looking at Graham, but that couldn't have been, could it? I mean, Mom, it was like I was looking at him at, she looked around the table. Right before everything happened to him. Before he had to have the surgeries and the facial reconstruction from what those bastards had been. Oh, God, I can't even think of it. From what they had put him through that fucked up weekend. Sonny was quiet for a moment. A little while after you all left, Uncle Silver and Chris with Graham, they drove to the old tea house building. There they met a young man and the dogs, the bike and the cart he was riding. Well, that turns out to be Graham's tilly-tally from all those years ago. The 3 of them loaded him, the dogs, and that rig into Bessie. And then Graham went nose to nose with Reed when he and Reggie showed up. There's still a warrant for him, isn't there, for the attempt on Graham's life? Yes, Uncle Chris called, but he took off before Jimmy, Richie, or the 2 new detectives could get there. But they filed a sighting report and put out an APB on him. The 3 of them, they brought Storm Dockin home with the dogs. Graham rode the old bike and cart Storm had apparently found and scavenged for him and the dogs to use into the work shed behind the auto barn at the inn. Sonny chuckled. His old girl got his pants leg with grease from the chain all the way up to his crotch. It turns out It's his old rig for his little delivery business he started and ran all those years ago. Tilly Tally is home. She's back in the crib. And so is Storm. We, as you know, can't see those around us clearly. But with Storm home, and Reed was here twice in the last week at Mystic Moments to ask about him. He's looking for him. He knows he better not show up at the inn. If he and Graham go at it, Graham's a lot more powerful, Mom, in physical and mental strength than what he was at age 17. He's built solid from working out with Uncle Chris, Jim, and the rest of the guys. He boxes with Jess at least once a month and does the shadow boxing with Lightfoot to help keep Dan in shape. And Mom, that's 'cause you know they got to be careful with Dano's hands. But the shadow boxing keeps up his skill and speed if Danny ever needs them. Graham is also a powerful witch in his abilities in Wicca than he gives himself credit for. He is the hub to our coven. Stevie nodded. Storm is ill. She looked off in the distance and then came back. Yes, he's recovering in the presidential suite. What are you getting? 'Cause that can help Aunt Emily with what's going on. Stevie was quiet for a moment. He and the large dog. It kind of looks like a wolf or something. There was a frozen part in the creek. They wound up in it. She went through the ice and he waded in to secure her. He's got something of Graham's. It's an old form when he was drinking. It's old from when he was drinking. His past. The night he was hurt. One of the girls took it and his kid has it. And this kid has it. Oh, Mom. It's from the night he was hurt. Only Storm doesn't know what it is or why it was taken. It was used to prove something, and it holds several secrets of that night. Mom, you gotta tell Uncle Chris. I'm damn sure Reed is going to not only come for Storm, but things are not finished between Graham and Reed. There's something coming at Manduala, and it's very dark. Aunt Ranella tried to protect Manduala, but it's backfired. Although she is watching, I sense her, I can feel her, and Yaya Poppy as well. Sonny released a breath. That's what I feel as well, sweetheart. And Aunt Colette said Mickey is reacting to something too as well. They were at the island house, her Uncle Jack's. Mickey was picking up strange vibrations and kept turning in circles and stating that there was something with the docks. Well, Colette walked down there. There's damage, like someone tried to dock a small boat or something there. There was silence for several moments before she spoke again. You're going to need several bottles of alcohol and bleach. Do not try to clean the sheet you plan to put on the table, and don't throw it in the trash. Put it into the fire pit in the backyard and burn it, or bring it with you when you come home and we'll take care of it. Be safe, my sweeties, my lovelies. So mote it be. Sonny ended the call. Stevie hung up the phone. She looked at her sister-in-law, Shanta, and then to Annie. Scary, isn't she? Try to get away with something when you're a kid, and she's your mommy. Neither Jess or I ever succeeded. Neither did Dan or Annie or Zoe. She put the kettle on for more hot water. Jess had it rougher than I did. He hasn't even fully tuned in to the channel, and Dano, he didn't know what the hell to do. His folks didn't give a crap about him or his half-sister/cousin, Ari. They chased what Mom and Daddy called dreams of demons and Satan and created themselves some shit, along with his mother and aunt chasing my daddy because they thought they could worm their way in between him and Mom. Dan's father was a drunk and a thief, and they were hell-bent on destroying Mom. They left him and Ari behind. They were treated almost like slave labor and abused. What? How could they? Annie asked. They were asses. Dan has so many injuries that he's still recovering from as he tried to protect Ari from Anton Walensky. Those two wonderful kids and Jess were raised by Mom when Daddy was in the service. They were my second big brother and sister with Jess's lady, Zoe. Danny, in his 30s, still has multiple problems from those injuries. Mom believed in Dano's music and Ari's beautiful designs in graphic arts. He writes beautiful songs, and Ari was incredible with her mind and ideas she could create in computer designs. He was a child protege with the piano and is as amazing with the guitar. Yes, I had a major crush on him as a kid. What little girl doesn't fall in love with one of their big brother's buddies? But then, at 16, I got rained on, she laughed. Oh, yes, rain is a cradle robber, Hindi chuckled. But besides, Apple, I wouldn't want anyone else to have fallen in love with my baby brother-in-law, and I could not imagine my nephews and nieces having a more wonderful mom to be in their world. My little sister-in-law is the best. Shanta and Hindi raised their cups of tea to salute Stevie, having Annie raise her own. To my new friend, sister. Stevie wrapped her arms around Annie and kissed Tatiana on the top of the head. Chapter 39. The morning of Saturday, November 18th, broke crisp and clear on Long Island. Dima sat in the living room of the large Victorian. He was calm and relaxed. Annie was holding his hand as her own trembled. They'd explained to Ivina and Dennis that when they returned from fishing in the late afternoon, that Dima would be resting in the den. He would hopefully have the 2 remaining bullets removed. Judy, Chaz, Ade, and Jocko had arrived, and Harley, Scout, and Triton had all the fishing gear ready. The group left Stevie and Hindi with Shanta to dress the table and prepare. Now, as the car pulled up in front of the house and Cash answered the door, Annie bit her lip, trying to keep from panicking. It will be fine, Dima smiled. I wish for you to take Tatiana and Triumph out to the patio and watch the beautiful birds as at the fountain and see if you can count the many that visit. I would like to hear what they look like as I recover, and you make list of what you like about the gardens. We will see what we can put into our own home's gardens when we clean up. Dima rose as the doctor approached. You take the little ones and go watch birdies. He motioned to her. Go, go, go. I will be fine. Annie stood to kiss him and picked up the baby and the bouncer chair Stevie had given her to take a breath and walked forward towards the patio door where Triumph went out with them. Let us get you out of the pajama bottoms and the shirt to see what we are dealing with. Dr. Raj and Hindi led him to the dining room. Dima removed the garments. Cash and Rain helped him onto the table to lay down. Dr. Raj proceeded with the exam. His eyes went to Hindi. He gave a nod. An hour at most, Rain. The tranquilizer is prepared. Let us begin, Dr. Raj stated. He and Hindi went into the kitchen to scrub. You'll feel a sting in each leg, Dima. After that, it will seem like it's only been a moment or two, and then you'll wake. Ready? Da, he answered and closed his eyes. He flinched at the first injection. The second, he drifted through. And there we will leave the story for today. We will see what happens if they are successful in getting the bullets removed from Dima. And now that his secret is out, along with Annie's, we'll see where Manduala can help to guide them and what they can all do. Thank you for visiting and spending part of your day with us. I thank you greatly. I wish you a blessed day. So mote it be, and we will see you next time.